Hi everyone, welcome to Village Fabrics at Home again. Today I'm just going to look at a different folding technique that we have been using in the shop for a very long time now to produce a couple of interesting kits. Same technique, different result. So today we're looking at this folded Christmas tree. Both sides are very presentable, so they're great for hanging at a glass door or a window. And the second item that is made using exactly the same technique is this folded wreath. This is, you can hang it up, but I really think it does better as a table centerpiece with a candle coming up in the middle here for Christmas time. So, as I say, same technique, which is much more simple than the end product would have you believe. And I'm just going to show you how to do that. Now, don't panic, I'm going to go over the difficult bits a couple of times. So, as always, we have detailed instructions in our kit. So, the first thing is you need to be cutting an equilateral triangle. There are different sizes for different kits, but just stick with the instructions and the template that is provided on paper for you. Equilateral triangles is that they tessellate and they do then of course become hexagons. So whenever you're marking out your fabric, you can use every scrap of fabric by just turning the triangles from tip to toe along a piece of fabric. So once you have marked up your fabric and cut it out accurately, you are then up for stitching around. The first thing that I'm looking at here is the triangle for the Christmas tree. I find that stripes work really well on this. I think they prove to be very interesting. All I have done is I've sewn a 1/4 of an inch seam all the way around the edge, leaving myself a gap for turning. So make sure you get the points out nice and sharp. I'm I'm not going to spend too much more time on this, but it is worth doing this because the next step is bringing those points together, and if you've got them nice and even, makes life a little bit easier. So get your 3 points out, tuck in the seam allowance where your opening is, and just do a little ladder stitch to hold that closed. What you're moving on to next is, as I said earlier, equilateral triangles, when you fold the points in, become hexagons. I'm going to have to do this so that you can see how I get to the next stage. Okay, that'll do. So, one equilateral triangle. What you're going to do now is to take each of the points and fold it to the middle of the triangle. So point, we're going to do it that way so that we have the green points coming in. And suddenly, whenever you've done that, you have a hexagon. Now this one I have stitched together, and this is step 1 in the folding process. It's important that you stitch the 3 points together, and I generally keep my thread attached because what I want to do is, having sewn my 3 points together, I want to secure them to the center of what is now a hexagon shape. So I'm just putting a couple of stitches there to hold those centrally. And I just pop a stitch in there. There we go. Now we get to the interesting bit where, yep, I've just done that from the wrong side because my thread is now through here. Use a matching thread, it's much more forgiving. And this is where I'm going to, there we go, thread the needle. And so what we have now is a double-sided hexagon. It has something interesting going on this side, and we're going to have something even more interesting going on the other side. So what we're going to do now is we're going to take our thread through to the green side, and we're going to find the center of the edges of the hexagon where we can see the fabric that is on the reverse. So in this case it's our stripe. So I'm going to I just folded that there so that I can finger press where that center is. My thread is already in the center, so I'm going to pull that through there and pull it back to the center. So I have a piece that looks like that. Going to take a stitch there to secure it. Maybe 2 stitches just to be sure. Okay, we move on round the hexagon until we find the next edge that where the fabric on the reverse is visible. Do that, find the center, take a stitch there, pull that back to meet into the center where your thread has come from. Take a stitch through, hold that in place. Take a second stitch. There we go. So again, we're moving on round and we're coming to the third and final side of the hexagon where we can see the reverse fabric. Finger press, take a stitch, pull it back to the center. Take a second stitch. And you have created one of these. And this is the component part that gets assembled to create the different shapes that I've been showing you. So this is part of a tree. We've used a different colours for the bottom. Then it's just a matter of continuing to assemble pieces. These get themselves attached onto here. And the cute, then this takes us right the way through to creating the whole tree. Now this is going to be tricky, so I'm going to reverse back to this one. So you have your tree coming up. Now you can see with this one's got some pretty little candles going on. They are a lovely accessory. They are, however, quite tiny, but I think they're worth the effort. You have the fabric in the kit that we supply. You are folding a piece of solid red fabric for the candle, and you are folding a little square of yellow to create the flame. Now I find the best way of doing this is to fold it into a triangle, then fold it down to, I suppose it becomes, so you're kind of making a little square, but if you turn one piece down and then start to just coil the other piece around, you get to have something that looks a little bit like a flame. Use your imagination, yeah? So you're creating a little piece like this. You then have to make this go inside here and wrap around. Now, as I say, this is not difficult, it is just fiddly. If you have little fingers, it's very useful. So that is how you make a candle. The candles then slot into the little pockets that have been created with your folding. So they slide down in there, and you do need to take just a couple of stitches to secure them. Okay, like this, and you work your way down the well, you put as many on as you want. I tend to just pop them down the edge of the tree and give you the opportunity to put some different decorations in the centre. With this one, I've been working up it, and I've been putting some diamond beads on it just to cover up the stitches on the front and give it a bit of twinkle as well. Now that is your full size Christmas tree. It's still sticking with the same technique. It's the assembly that makes this a different project. So again, you have so we're going through the process once more. So you have your double-sided triangle, because you've turned it through and you've got your points, and you are turning your 3 points into the center, making your hexagon, and then you are folding back the pieces, stitching them all in place. There we go, so that you have made one of these. Now this is smaller, but exactly the same technique. Now when it comes to assembly, this is when you are actually making them in sections. So each section looks like this. So you have 6 of these little units going round in the middle, and then you have 12 that go round the outside. So this is your centre, this one's a different colour, and then these are the ones going round the outside. And they are then joined together to create a half. So you have 3 of these to each half. Yeah. You join, you create 2 halves, and then you join the 2 halves together. Again, if you want, it's a good idea to cover up your stitching. So this one has some beads on. I have seen people put buttons on. I've also seen them with sequins on. Just whatever takes your fancy for a bit of glitz come Christmas time. So I hope you've enjoyed that, and I hope that we'll see each other face to face very soon. So keep watching.